Hey guys, my name is DanielRMC and I'm an ADC main that's a challenger multiple times. And for anyone learning Ezreal, I wanted to make a short video for you guys to get started and introduce some basic lessons and some basic tips and tricks that will be helpful for you mastering your own play on Ezreal. After watching a couple of these lessons, I highly recommend that you get into Practice Tool yourself because you're going to be using a lot of these combos in real games, I guarantee it. So, without further ado, let's get started.
If you haven't already, I would highly recommend checking out our website, GameLeap.com. There we have hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses, so if that is something that interests you, then make sure to check it out using the link in the description below.
Lesson number 1, this is going to be a pretty easy one to be honest with you, but the first thing I want to tell you guys is to turn on Smartcast with Ezreal. If you don't turn on Smartcast with Ezreal, it will take a lot of extra work to master this champion, and combos look super awkward then. So if I'm to do like a standard Ezreal combo, I just have to do 3 extra left clicks, and when you're in the heat of the moment where you have to constantly be microing and watching enemy movements, it just takes so much extra work, and even I'm missing some of these like combos here. So to turn on Smartcast, you're going to press escape, and in hotkeys you're going to press these 4 buttons right here with Q, W, E, R, and this will make combos a lot easier to cast without having to press left click, and a lot smoother. The second lesson that I want to teach you guys is the Q flash mechanic. This will allow you to reposition yourself to potentially hit enemies that you might have not hit otherwise due to an enemy body blocking. So for example, I set up here, we want to hit this target dummy, and the Q flash mechanic will allow us to reposition otherwise. So it's going to be very simple. You're going to press Q, and then in the channel time of your Q, you're going to flash like this. In realistic scenarios, you're going to be using this a lot to chase down enemies or to get in range of someone or potentially minions body blocking you or an enemy champion body blocking you. You're going to use the mechanic like this. And you're going to like point blank Q, and you're going to reposition it to maybe get across minions or whatever. And since you're going to be most likely having Sheen, this is a really important mechanic to get the most DPS possible. Another scenario is you're going to be chasing down enemies with the Q flash, and it's really important that you, instead of having to flash and then Q, and your enemies might run out of it in that time, you Q then flash. And this can reach really long distances, so I really recommend that you guys practice like getting the max range from it, because you're gonna hit it from a pretty far screen away. So for example here, like this is pretty far. And so you're going to be chasing enemies a lot, but if I was to flash and then Q, maybe they're able to run away from it. Lesson number 3 that I want to talk to you guys about is the E flash mechanic, kind of how I ended lesson number 2. This is mainly used for repositioning yourself in team fights or chasing enemies down, and it's to reduce the cast time or channel time of your E without making it look awkward. So if I'm to do a normal flash E, I'd flash first and then E. But then during my flash, it looks just a little awkward because then I have to cast E and stand there for like 0.5 seconds. Instead, what you can do is E flash and make it look like you instantly teleport across the screen. So it looks a little something like this. And this is done easily by casting E first to channel your cast duration to start casting the spell. But then you flash in the meantime. A common mistake I've seen a lot of Ezreals do is they E where their flash should be, and then they flash where their E should be, and it looks a little something like this. And that's just because your Arcane Shift actually teleports you to where you initially casted your cursor. So if you cast your cursor, or if you have your cursor located where your flash should be, and then flash where your E should be, then it's just going to look super awkward. And you're just gonna end up not doing any DPS or just completely mispositioning yourself. So that's a common mistake to look out for. Lesson number 4 that I want to teach you guys is your standard Ezreal combo on, let's say, CC target or whatever. CC target, or maybe you're standing still, or you know you're going to be able to land it. And it's going to be as simple as this. First you channel up with Essence Flux, and then you follow with an Arcane Shift into a Mystic Shot. The reason why you have a combo done in this order is because after you're done casting your Essence Flux and Arcane Shift to land on the enemy, you actually reduce the cooldown from Mystic Shot to put all 3, or potentially 4 if your ultimate is down, cooldowns and you reduce it just so you're able to get it on rotation just a little bit earlier. And getting it on rotation, especially when you have 40% CDR, is very essential for Ezreal constantly spell slinging his ability. A common mistake I see a lot of Ezreals do is they WQ and then E, and for obvious reasons of what I just mentioned earlier, you don't want to do this just because then you don't reduce the cooldown of your E. And your E cooldown being 24 seconds or 24 seconds at level 1. You really want to avoid that, especially in early game fights. Lesson number 5 that I want to teach you guys is, imagine you're chasing down someone and you're trying to gap close, and you have your Arcane Shift on cooldown like this. And a common mistake I see a lot of Ezreals do is at max range they try and WQ, but the problem with this is, as I mentioned earlier, is that if they're running away from your Q, more than likely they'll get hit by your W, but then they'll be able to outrange your Q. So what you want to do instead is you want to just queue random objects until you're able to land WE again, and then gap close one more time. Instead of max range W, you always want to be casting your WQ at relatively mid-range. Casting at max range is pretty much not going to be efficient. You're not going to be landing it very much unless they're crowd controlled. Lesson number 6 that I want to teach you guys is Essence Flux into Arcane Shift. You're going to be using this a lot in laning phase. I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but Arcane Shift is prioritized by those landed by WQ. So this is going to be used a lot in laning phase to recover mana and harass the enemy after landing a WE. I've seen a lot of Ezreals, after they land their Essence Flux, they E in real close to the enemy. And this allows the enemy Kai'Sa, enemy Jinx, enemy Lucian a lot of extra auto attacks in. And so what I want you guys to practice in lesson number 6 here is I want you guys to get in practice tool, and I want you to W and then E as far away from the enemy model as possible. And so this will allow you to not get punished by auto attacks while still being able to refresh your mana. As you see here, you can get a lot of extra ground in and without being punished. And this is really important because losing a lot of HP on Ezreal being kind of a mid-game power spike champion, you'll most likely get chipped out and be forced to teleport back to your turret, and losing a summoner spell or being forced on a reset is completely inexcusable. Lesson number 7 that I want to teach you guys is something pretty simple, and as I mentioned earlier in lesson number 6, it has to do with Essence Flux into ultimate. Another common mistake I see a lot of Ezreals do is a lot of Ezreals land their W and then they try to just go for an R right here. And more than likely, after seeing the channel time of like 1 second, the enemy beta carrier, enemy support will be like, oh god, I need to dodge this, right? And so what I really want you guys to do is the proper usage of how to harass the enemy is you're going to W them and you're going to E or just walk out of vision, and then you're going to R. And this will allow you to catch the enemy by surprise and what I like to call reaction check them, to where instead of giving them an extra 1 second to potentially dodge your W, the travel time of True Shot Barrage is actually pretty fast, and it will give them less time to react. And obviously this maybe won't work always because the brush isn't warded. So another area you can ulti from is from here. And this is just playing around vision, and basically I just wanted to teach you guys to ult when you know the enemy doesn't have vision of you, and especially in laning phase. This will allow you to gain an element of surprise. Not to mention, you'll be allowed to refund your mana, which is always really good. Lesson number 8, and the last lesson I want to teach you guys, is how to efficiently get the most DPS out of your ulti. I've seen a lot of Ezreals misuse their ulti in different ways, and you can use a lot of True Shot Barrages in different ways. I'm going to teach you guys the most efficient way, and it's that you always want to use your ulti at the beginning. And you're going to ask, why do you want to use your ulti at the beginning? And that's mainly because of your passive Rising Spell Force. So maybe a lot of you know this, maybe a lot of you don't know this, but if you actually use your R first and hit multiple people with it, it'll actually count for stacking of your ultimates. So here I'm going to be hitting 4 training dummies, and you'll see that my passive is actually increased to 40%. I think I hit a couple of jungle creeps along the way, so I ended up getting 50%. In a real teamfight situation, obviously, you're not going to be hitting 4 people. Man, if you hit 4 people, you probably just carried the hell out of that team fight. But in a real situation, you're probably only going to be hitting 2 people like this. This will allow you to stack up your passive a lot faster, to up to 50% attack speed. This will allow you to get your auto attacks faster out, and this will allow you to kind of proc your Muramana faster. As I mentioned, a relatively short video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to repeat it once again. I highly recommend getting into Practice Tool yourself and practicing, most importantly, the Q Flash, the E Flash, and the Arcane Shift into Essence Flux at max range, or the WE into max range so you don't get harassed in lane. So that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Ezreal tips and tricks video. Goodbye, guys.
If you haven't already, make sure to check out our website, GameLeap.com. There we have hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses. If you are looking to improve your play and grind out higher ratings, our website is one of the best tools out there for you. Sign up today using the link in the description below.